Some of you already know this, but a lot of you don't. From about 2009 to 2017, I was staffing a convention for anime, cartoon, video games, stuff like that, which also put on a wrestling event. I wound up participating in that event, usually as a wrestler, for all of those 9 years. The way that I got into it was, I just went to the convention as an attendee in its first year. This would have been in 2008. And just had my crappy little camera, and I took video of a bunch of little events and made a montage out of it. The head of the convention saw that and decided to try and recruit me to do videography work. Basically, I would film the events and then edit them, put them on the convention's YouTube channel, and in addition to that, I would also help film some things for advertising. Then one day we were having an in-person staff meeting, and they were working out like the match card for the wrestling event. The wife of the convention head, who also worked with the dealer's room, turns to me and says, "You know, we're doing a Smash Battle Royal and we do need a Luigi." I was reluctant because I had absolutely no training, but there was that little part of me in the back of my mind sometimes that would say, like, you know how sometimes you dream about being like a rock star or an astronaut or something like that? I had the part of me that said, you know, maybe wrestling? I only agreed to do it after I got assurance that there would be training involved, that there wouldn't be anything particularly high risk. Because that's the thing about this show. A lot of the matches tended to be this fine line between like an actual wrestling match and just like a choreographed fight of sorts. There would be goofy shit going on, like there was one year somebody had a ray gun, froze their opponent to the mat, and then pinned them. Think like Kaiju Big Battle, only replace the buildings getting destroyed in the ring with various other goofy shit. And I wasn't going to do this at first, but I did recover the video recently for some of my last matches and the last matches of like the convention as a whole because it stopped running in 2017. So let's get started with this. This is from 2009, and it's the Smash Brothers Battle Royal. Alright, they called it the Smash Brothers Brawl because that came out. I should note I'm not running the camera, even though I'm the videographer. I had to recruit somebody else to do this. And I pretty much had to do that every single year. So what's going on now is they're killing time, because the person who's supposed to come out as the second person in the match, like right at the beginning of this, was in the prior match. So he needs time to do a costume change. So a couple of people who were part of the show already just came out in their street clothes and started fucking around. There he is. I should note that the ring itself was provided by a local wrestling promotion that, as part of the agreement for like running a show in front of the convention crowd, they also let us use it for this event. I should note that a lot of the training that went on for this was done by the most experienced people, and most of them were backyarders. Oh boy, here we go. There's Luigi. Immediately getting his ass kicked by Mario. C'est la vie, Luigi. Now they start like rolling random shit into the ring for us to attack each other with. I got the turtle shell. That's like my big spot. I don't know why Ness is coming out to Buckethead music. This was before we started like organizing music and intro videos for everybody. At this particular point, all I really knew how to do was fall on my back. I could throw punches and take punches, and I knew how to do like a clothesline and a DDT, and that was about it. I was expecting to get eliminated 30 seconds in, so I just started fucking around. I did like the hand poke thing to Ness. Captain Falcon there was one of the guys who helped train everybody. And you're gonna see more of him as these videos go on. And there's me taking the DDT, and I'm out. Truth be told, like a minute ago I ran out of shit that I could do. So I just decided that whoever gives me the next move, that's going to be where I get pinned and roll out of the ring and just go about my day. So the next year I came back a day before the convention again and got some more training, because the ring would usually be set up Thursday and then the convention opened Friday. So you'd have like a little bit of time to get in the ring, roll around, practice some stuff, and what have you. Apparently they felt comfortable enough with me that I could start just wrestling people one-on-one, but they were still going to have me work with Captain Falcon from the last one. He's back here again, and he pretty much led the entire match. There were a couple of times where we improvised a little bit, but it's mostly him. This, I believe, was the year that I got a different camera, because I thought, well, if I'm doing videography for these guys, I should have a decent camera. So I ditched this Aptech handheld flip out thing that I had before, and I got a Canon FS100, which at the time was a major upgrade for me. I still have that helmet, by the way. Something I should note, I'm coming to the ring without glasses for all of these characters. I did not have contacts at this time, so there's a person holding up a sign there that says, "Go Speed Go." I cannot see it, so I don't know to point it out. Now, I'm gonna pause now, because I have to explain, we planned out the beginning of this match and the end of this match, and both of them went kind of wrong. What's supposed to happen is he comes out sprinting to the ring and jumps me right away, then he whips me into the ropes, hits me with a falcon punch, and I do this comedic slump to the ground, and then that's an almost pinfall. It just barely gets broken up. There he is. Into the ring already. I'm not looking at him. Punch, punch, punch. Into the ropes, and... I mean, the fall looked good. The punch looked good. I'm too close to the ropes. I grab the ropes, break up the pin, and stop. So, that looks fine, but he legit punched me in the nose. And as he was pinning me, he realized that he legit punched me in the nose, and I heard him go, "Sorry." I mean, technically it still worked out. My nose wasn't broken or fractured or anything. It didn't even bleed. Didn't even bruise particularly bad afterwards, so I kind of lucked out on that one. I said at the beginning and the end were planned, but this was planned too. Because this move is really easy to give to somebody. The person taking it basically does all of the work. My timing was way off on that. He basically just muscled me up. Here he's trying to suplex me. I'm supposed to reverse it. Now, wait for it. I had him gripped wrong. I had him gripped for, a body slam, because that's what I thought we were going for. But he, jumped up like I was going to suplex him over. So what wound up happening was, it was almost like a power slam, but usually the guy runs in, so you have the momentum just whip him over and slam him to the ground. I was just trying to make sure that he didn't land on his head. And fortunately, he just landed flat on his back. That is the ugliest armbar. I kept doing it for some reason, in the following matches. This is beautiful. There was actually someone who got a photo of this, and it just looks awesome. It's low angle. He's rearing back going, "Ah!" That was not planned, by the way. I just improvised and caught the foot, and then turned it over. Here we decide, yep, rock bottom. So, I need to pause again. Now, after this year's event, there was a ban put on two moves, the rock bottom and the people's elbow, because it happened every other match. For whatever reason, every year, there's like one move or two moves that everybody does, and we put like a soft ban on it for the next year. Speaking of, here is banned move number 2. The Mach 6 elbow. It's even more effective than the Mach 5 elbow. Here's where we decide to do the ending. It's supposed to be like a double clothesline, double pin, and the match ends in a draw. But what ends up happening... We're supposed to pin each other. I landed with my shoulder on top of his torso. So it was supposed to be a draw. It was still called a draw, even though one of my shoulders was obviously up. That was also the year we started being a little more careful about our costumes. Mine was just like store-bought items that I repurposed to be the Speed Racer costume. But some people were making their own from scratch. And the thing about both store-bought and made-from-scratch clothing is you have to make sure that it's durable enough to use. Not just from like the fabric tearing, but in particular the seam work on it. Unless you're wearing something like jeans or other things that are designed with tougher stitching in them, or that's like really loose and has some flex to it, things can go very badly. And I'm not in this match, but it's worth showing as an example. This is M. Bison versus Guile, and the Bison cosplayer is actually the head of the convention. He and his wife would tell people, like, if you need help making your costumes, we will help you out, because we have experience making costumes for cosplay. And you can already tell that, like, part of his pants are ripped, but it goes beyond that. So, his pants are utterly destroyed. You can see they're just hanging off at this point. They do eventually just come off completely, because he can't really move with his pants around his ankles. And he just wrestled the rest of the match in his boxers. 2011, and this is the first year where I couldn't find anybody to run the camera. So, rather than have absolutely nothing, we just set it up in the corner and like shot it at the ring, and you could see the entrance back here. And I just tried to make do with what I had. The match is Yugo from Bloody Roar versus Balrog from Street Fighter, but it wasn't supposed to be that. I think I mentioned this in a previous video, but it was supposed to be Bob from Tekken versus me as Batsu from Rival Schools. Because the convention had saw me cosplaying as Batsu at a convention before, and thought, wow, that looks really good, why don't we get that in the wrestling ring? Well, we don't get that in the wrestling ring because, one, that outfit is very restrictive, so my range of movement was limited, and two, the stitching in it was not made for like heavy physical performance, and it would have just fallen apart in the ring. So I proposed, why don't I wrestle as Yugo from Bloody Roar? I mean, I already have all but one part of the costume for it. I don't think he had any idea who it was, but he needed someone to wrestle in the match, so he said, yeah, sure, go ahead. This was also around the time I started doing all the intro videos for the wrestlers. I didn't really have much in the way of inputs, so I just kind of went off of whatever seemed like it would be a decent intro. And when I say I made the videos, I basically just ripped shit off of YouTube, spliced it up, and then threw music over it. Something to note about this match going in, by the way, Chef from South Park is the referee, because this was the year where we didn't have somebody who could do it for all the matches, so various wrestlers from the show just threw on the referee shirt and then refereed some matches. So there are different ways you can approach certain wrestling matches, but like some people will just call everything in the ring, some people will script out everything that happens, and me and the guy that I worked with, we wound up planning out every single step of the match, and before the show started, we did walkthroughs in the ring, like time after time after time, trying to get it down. He put so much effort into his look. Like, he went through the trouble of shaving the pattern for Balrog's hair into his head. This is also one of those matches where we didn't know at first who should win. We just kind of arbitrarily decided, okay, eventually I'll win somehow. So keep in mind that for the first few stages of this match, everything is like completely planned out. I have to like zoom in now on the ring because otherwise it's going to be too far away to make anything out. This is basically a big man versus little man match, where one person has to rely on speed, the other person is just going to try and overpower them the entire time. Now, if I were actually a Zoanthrope, I would be able to overpower him.
Alright, the man who's as tall as my thumb is trying to beat down the world's best boxer.
The man as tall as my thumb. God damn it. So, here, like, we're trying to get back on the same page. Because he's done a move that I'm not expecting, that judo toss in particular. And whenever we're together, I'm trying to whisper to him, like, go for an Irish whip to the corner. Okay, he's gonna do a headbutt. Now he's supposed to whip me to the corner. I figure, okay, we're back on track now. He knows what we're doing. And I'm trying to tell him, go for a whip to the corner. And he forgets to reverse it, so we just kind of hold hands and spin. And I have a moment where I'm like, what the fuck? And he's like, kick me. And I'm, okay, so we're back on script now. Go for the spear. He catches it, turns it into a DDT. I don't know if he forgot what to do for a moment. But, yeah, I didn't know why he just, like, walked around the ring for a little bit before going for the pin. He just muscled me up for that one. I jumped too late, so fortunately I was really light then, so most people could just pick me up and, like, toss me around. For the longest time, I was the smallest person involved with the wrestling. That changes in, like, future matches, but for the longest time it was just me who would do all the spots where I'd go for a move, get caught, and then thrown around the ring. It should be assumed that Yugo cannot go into beast form as part of the rules for the match.
Did he kick?
They didn't know I kicked out because I didn't do like the dramatic like kip up your hips, flip your leg around. I just like got my shoulder up because he wasn't really laying on me. And that's going to lead into the worst scissor kick you've ever seen. Well, I didn't injure anyone with it, so I guess I'm still better than Alicia Fox. Yeah, we're getting down to the end of the match now. And there was supposed to be a spot where somebody distracted the ref, and he did the low blow. Nobody distracted the ref. So the referee knows this isn't supposed to be the end of the match. So he's like, I'm gonna allow this.
Alright, Sean, get up.
The commentators are just shit-talking me the entire time because of how small I am. This is supposed to happen, though. This is, like, my big move of the match. Now, after that, I'm supposed to do a Rolling Thunder on him, but I was so tired that I did the somersault and the most pathetic splash you've ever seen. He already forgot the name of the character. Funny thing is, they said, your reward for winning this match is you're the referee for the next match, and Chef took the referee shirt off, gave it to me, and then we did the next match. Or wait, maybe, I think the next match was Lion-O versus Mumra, and then I refereed the Punch-Out versus Double Dragon match after that. I refereed the last match on the show, I remember that much. 2012, and we used to be at the, like, I think it was the Holiday Inn Eastgate in Cincinnati for this convention. This is the year we, like, decided we need to start moving to bigger venues. So we wound up at the Great Wolf Lodge in Mason, Ohio, which is just outside of Cincinnati. A lot went wrong. The convention had spent most of the time trying to not get the event shut down by the people who ran the Great Wolf Lodge, because the lodge started pulling out on a bunch of things that they agreed to do. And on top of that, one of the things that they weren't doing much or at all was making sure that the water stations were filled. That's particularly important when you have a water station at the back for all of the wrestlers. Basically, if you didn't remember to bring something for yourself, you were just shit out of luck. That said, I wound up being in 2 matches on this show. Something I should note is that I'm wrestling as Bandit Keith from Yu-Gi-Oh! And he wasn't supposed to be on the show at all. But just purely on a whim, I made an intro video for him set to Hulk Hogan's theme. And the convention had liked it so much, they said, you know what, fuck it, we gotta do this now. We can't let this go to waste. The match was supposed to be Bandit Keith versus, I can't remember the guy's name, the Emperor from Code Geass. But that guy pulled out from the convention entirely. So I wound up wrestling against the head of the convention, who was dressed as Pee Wee Herman. And Bandit Keith in the match with the Emperor was going to be the good guy. But here, we decided he's going to come out as the good guy, but people are going to root for Pee Wee regardless. So I'm just going to completely turn on him and the convention itself. That's Dennis Daniel, by the way. He did a bunch of podcasts and videos back in the day. I don't know if he still does. Basically, it was not an official event until he lost his voice, because it happened pretty much every time he tried to do commentary. This is also the first year that Matthew from Botchamania started showing up, and he was the color commentator for this year. You're gonna see more of him as these videos go on. See, at first I'm a good guy. I got a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh cards and just started throwing them out to the crowd, like, hey, you can duel too, I'm gonna beat you, but... See, now I'm pissed, because I think I'm gonna wrestle like somebody really big who's gonna get me in line for a title shot, and it just turns out to be Pee Wee Herman. Now, I'm gonna pause for a moment. Now, I was supposed to just immediately start shit-talking him, but we had a wireless mic, and I didn't know that the announcer was turning it off every time that he stopped talking into it. So I just grab it, start talking, and no sound's coming through.
Against this. Figure it out. You know what?
Hold on, pause, and now? He initially started leading the ring with the microphone, but part of the promo was supposed to be me turning this into a submission match, so I had to chase it down like, no, wait, I have more to say. Now, I'm gonna pause real quick so I can note something. Remember what I said about how the Rock Bottom and the People's Elbow were banned?
Suffer.
First move of the match. First move of the first match of the show is a Rock Bottom. Credit where it's due. He was, like, when you do something other than a regular match, it's very easy to, like, go for ways to win that don't count anymore. And neither of us went for pinfalls for the submission match, so at least we got that right. Now, here's where I put him into the Dragon Sleeper. Now, you go for the neck, you go for the forehead, you don't do what I do, which is shove your armpit into the guy's mouth. See, this is what we knew what would happen. The audience was just going to go behind Pee Wee regardless. Let me pause real quick. Now, as I'm laying on the ground, and it's easy for him to see, not so easy for the crowd to see because the ring is higher than people were sitting. But I'm on the ground, my arms are out, and I do this, just to signal that I'm going to move out of the way. And this is where the momentum really starts to shift. Because now I'm just going to put him in a couple submissions. I was kind of surprised when he broke this out on me. I'm supposed to crawl to the ropes, but he's got so much of his weight on my back that I couldn't really move. So I just kept screaming, no, no, I'm not giving up. Americans don't give up. You can see me like rocking my legs back and forth, but we're like right in the middle of the ring, so I'm not getting to the ropes anytime soon. This might be the most physically impressive thing I've ever done. I mean, that's not saying much, but still. It was supposed to be a torture rack, but really, it looked like I was just threatening to Samoan drop him, and then he gave up. And that is how Bandit Heath became, like, the biggest heel in the entire existence of this event. That was my first match. That was the first match on the entire show. But at the end, there was a big Royal Rumble style, excuse me, Battle Royal. We had some people drop from the show entirely, so we had some empty spots to fill. And as a result, everyone wound up playing like at least 2 roles in the Battle Royal. I'm going to fast forward a little bit to just the start of the match because there's some stuff that happens beforehand. M. Bison comes out, says he wants his title back because he never really lost it. The same guy who played Balrog in the previous match you saw jumps him, like leaves him laying, and then that leads into the start of the Royal Rumble thing we're doing. Okay, pause. So the reason that the Tron just says insert name here is I made like an ultimatum of sorts when I was putting together the videos for all the different characters, saying that if people commit to a character too late, that you're going to get the generic dummy Tron, which was just the words insert name here while, what's the song called? One and Only by Chesney Hawkes plays at 1/4 speed. That's it. So if you hear that several times throughout this video, that's why it's playing. I should note that the Lewis cosplayer just wrestled. He was darkly... Oh my god, I forgot about this. So, pause. I don't know who was running like the music for this, determining like when the videos start and stop playing. But for some reason, there was a recurring problem with our convention where whoever was in charge of it could not figure out how the play and stop button worked. Because they would just start playing what the fuck ever, whenever. And here, like, you're supposed to start with 2 people, and then time goes by, someone comes out, time goes by, someone comes out. They just started playing the third person right away. Come to think of it, the guy who's dressed as Leon was also in the match prior to this. Like, both of them were. But for some reason, they were both starting off, so there was like stalling for time at the beginning of this for them to do a costume change. And I'm convinced that Lewis is just laying there because he was fucking exhausted from the previous match. The guy said at the beginning of the match, every 2 minutes somebody new would come out. That's a common thing Battle Royals do, but they'll say it's 2 minutes, but they'll like make it shorter or longer according to like what they want to happen between people coming out. Here we did it like really by the numbers. It was 2 minutes on the dot every single time. And part of the problem with that is, now Leon's already eliminated Lewis, and he just has to stand in the ring until the next guy comes out.
Oh my god, it's got Lewis.
Matthew's sarcasm goes so well with this show.
Kick him in the giblets? You want me to kick him in the giblets? Should I get him?
Now, he didn't actually kick him in the giblets. Never mind, I misremembered that part. It's a battle royal, so it's legal. And this is the spot where they're doing to lead into the next person, which is me. And it was basically an excuse for me to not immediately get my ass kicked because of who I'm, like, wrestling as. And they just played the wrong music again. They somehow played the last person third. Or like fourth. Not gonna lie, it made me so happy that that many people cheered when Parappa came out. You can tell it's me because of the really bad tan. Also, that hat is ridiculously tight on my head. The moment I got out of this match, First thing that came off, hat, right away, because I'm pretty sure I had like a vein bulging out of my head from how tight it was around the top of it. Now keep in mind, I was not supposed to be in this match for particularly long, because I was going to be coming out again later. I mean, I guess the good news about the hat being really tight is that it wasn't going to fall off. Unlike every time somebody tried wrestling with a wig on in this event. Oh, and there's... That almost took out the camera person. Now see, the thing I'm concerned about, because we're doing actual 2-minute increments, is like too much downtime. So this is basically me killing time until the next person comes out. So I was convinced at this point that I was going to end up getting eliminated somehow. That didn't happen. Kind of hard to tell, but I can see that I got like some ring burn on my elbows. This is why you wear those pads. He got eliminated because he was coming out, I can't remember exactly what number, but he was coming out sooner as Chef from South Park, I think. I can't remember the exact order of entries for this. Reminder, Nathan Hale is supposed to be the hero of the Resistance games. So I was not expecting him to like actually eliminate himself, so now I'm killing time in the middle of the ring. So Frank West was in a previous match, and now he's back out in the same costume to do this again. Which I do not envy in wrestling in that. If it were me, I probably would have taken the jacket off, because leather does not breathe. There were a number of people who like did training 1 year and then didn't wrestle. So that they could do training again the next year, get more experience, get more comfortable in the ring, and then go do it.
It's a surname here, ladies and gentlemen.
I wasn't paying attention to what the crowd was doing. If I realized they were chanting insert name here, I probably would have just started laughing in the middle of the match. Oh, I should have noted that this was the first event where I had contacts, so I could actually see what was going on. And finally I got eliminated. You could see TF2 Sniper just sitting in the background, just waiting for this spot to finish. This happens a lot in Battle Royals, but it's usually not this blatant. Where like, other people are doing stuff in the middle of the ring, or the side of the ring, and everyone else is just kind of like, grasping hold on each other, just throwing basic punches, just waiting for their turn, basically. So, hold on, I have to pause, now. So, as that music went off, I was in the back changing into the Jet Set Radio costume. And, I was not supposed to go on yet for like at least 5 more entries. I don't know what happened with the order of the videos. I mean, I asked what happened, and they said, I don't know, I was just pressing play. It's like, we need someone who understands, like, what a track list is. Because, like, for the longest time, we couldn't find people who could just hit play on the right video at the right time. And now they're playing the wrong video again. Eventually they'll play the right entry. See, even the person running the camera is confused. Like, I know someone's supposed to come out. I can only imagine how confused TF2 Sniper was, because he also does M. Bison. And I could just imagine going, what the fuck are you people doing? Music's playing again, but nobody's coming out. That's not even music for one of the intros. They just started playing music. Matthew, ever the optimist. It gets better, bear with us. Finally, the next person comes out. That's supposed to be, Oh, I forgot about this. Yeah, he's not actually getting in the ring, he's just wandering around outside. Oh wait, now Spider-Man's in the match. I can't remember if he was actually, like, a legit part of the match or not. Balrog is actually coming out. His video played at the right time. He came out. I'm pretty sure nobody knows what exactly Spider-Man was doing. Because he just, like, crawled into the middle of somebody else's submission. Oh my god. Dennis's voice is just completely gone. He is struggling to get words out. So, Link versus Dark Link was the title match. And Dark Link just blindsided Link before he could even make it to the ring. There we go. This time I'm actually supposed to come out. Link is still dead on the stage. I mean, even though I had a little time to rest after changing out of Parappa, I was still completely exhausted. So there wasn't a whole lot that I could do or wanted to do. But oh well, time for the crowd favorites. Pretty much every single ANG, like, people just marked out for Chef. So, Balrog was not supposed to get eliminated yet. Because we're supposed to have this thing set up where Balrog's still in the ring, and then Bison comes out and eliminates him. So now Bison's going to come out. Balrog has to get back into the ring, and then get eliminated a second time. For the record, his pants are fixed for this one. So I remember at a couple of points we were trying to eliminate the guy who was Sir Crocodile. And we kept hearing from him, "Don't eliminate me, I'm not supposed to be eliminated yet." And I'm like, we're not, we're just pretending, and then you fight out of it. Now here he's giving me a Spinebuster, which at that time was a move that I had not practiced. So the first time I took that, instead of having my arms out like this brace for it, I had them like this, landed hard on my elbows. Now, when I took that DDT, he gripped me like a little too low on it, so the top of my head actually did hit the mat. I didn't get concussed or anything, but it did hurt. Don't mind me, I'm just over here stealing people's eliminations. And we're down to the final 3. Now people are just fighting outside the ring. There's no rhyme or reason to any of it. This was not planned, but it worked out really nice. And now we still have time at the end of the show before we have to transition to the next event. So everyone just starts doing what the fuck ever in and around the ring. It's a total clusterfuck. The 619 was like my one decent move for most of my time here. Here's where things get a little more serious. Remember what I said about how there wasn't any water at the water stations backstage? I wound up being so exhausted after this event that once the adrenaline finally, wore off in my system, I was just so exhausted I could barely do anything. I stopped responding to people, I couldn't understand what people were saying when they were talking to me. I wound up being checked out by the medical staff that was on hand. They actually used a wheelchair to get me back to the room where I was staying. And the people who were rooming with me were 2 other staffers. One of them swapped shifts with somebody else so that they could look after me. And they just made sure that I got plenty of fluids, I had some food in me. And I want to say I stayed in that hotel room for the rest of the day. It's a little hazy at that point, but I think that's what happened. At some point I fell asleep, and well, remember what I said about how I started wearing contacts that year? And I had to be told this because I didn't remember anything, I was still so tired. But one of the staffers that I was rooming with kind of wakes me up. I should put wakes me up in air quotes because I was so out of it. But she says, "Hey." And I say, Yeah? Do you still have your contacts in? Yeah? Do you have to take those out, or are those the kind that you can just keep in? Yeah? So eventually she does manage to wake me up and says, look, you gotta take your contacts out. And I don't remember taking the contacts out, but apparently I was able to do it. Which I'm kind of surprised by, considering that I just started wearing contacts like, I want to say a month or two before the event. So it still took me like a decent amount of time to not necessarily get them in, but get them out in particular. But that's enough of the serious shit. Let's go to 2013. This match was supposed to be Phoenix Wright versus Miles Edgeworth. And remember how I said I like make all the video intros for the wrestlers? I still have most of them on my computer. And I still have the intro for Miles Edgeworth in particular. I have so many like intro videos for wrestlers that just never showed up at any of these shows. So it wound up being Phoenix Wright, which was me, versus Harvey Birdman. And Harvey Birdman was played by the guy who was Nathan Hale in one of the previous matches. He not just had a little wrestling experience, he also practiced MMA. So he tended to hit hard.
All right, ready for our next match.
So, hold on, pause. I should mention that the person who was volunteering to run the camera for this, they did not run the camera ever again for this event. Like, he was a decent staffer, he was good at his responsibilities, I think he worked in panels, but there are many shots for several of these matches of the floor, his feet. He just really struggled with the idea of keeping the camera pointed at the action as much as possible. I mean, otherwise nice guy, but definitely not fit out for the cameraman role. I remember watching this back with the convention head, and he was just going, why the fuck is he dressed like that? Why did he not ask us to help with his costume? Meanwhile, you'll see my costume, and I actually went through the trouble of getting like a blue suit and red tie. I even kind of grew my hair out so I could spike it to the back. I couldn't quite get it straight back, but I at least made the effort. So this is going to be another match where the majority of it is me getting my ass kicked. And I should mention one thing, which is sometimes we have like a very specific plan for who wins these matches, but in this case, we actually decided who would win with a game of rock, paper, scissors, like the previous day. Now, he did not tell me he was going to do this. I see, like, I'm potentially getting dropped on my head, and I just leaned up instinctively to protect myself. I think he was actually just going for, like, some kind of backbreaker, because he didn't land in the pile driver position. So most of the match is going to be, like, me going for roll-ups, me trying to sneak in some offense, Fujiwara arm bars, stuff like that. Now, something that a lot of us did was we thought about the character we were going to wrestle as and decided like how we were going to wrestle as that person. And for Phoenix Wright, for whatever reason, I decided to go for more of like a grappler style. So lots of submission holds, lots of transitions, keeping things down on the mat a lot. Here, his wings were held on with tape, and I just accidentally ripped them off trying to do a submission on them. There's still some debate in the canon of this show whether or not that was Harvey Birdman and his wings did get ripped off, or if it was a Harvey Birdman imposter. I think this is like the one time I did a top rope move ever for this Multiverse Rumble thing. I think this is the only top rope move I ever did, and it was the diving finger poke. So here's the spot where he catches me. Now, I think he's going to do an F5 to me. But I guess he changed his mind, because here's what he does. Alabama Slam. That is one of the hardest shots I ever took for this thing. That is not a fun move to take. That doesn't look like much, but that actually hurt a lot. like the cravat that he had me in. And now we're going into the finish of the match, which I practiced this move a lot. And I'm actually yelling at the referee to move out of the way so I can do this. Cattle mutilation, that's the name of the move. My neck was almost going to give out, and then he tapped. So remember how I showed you that example of M. Bison's pants splitting and falling off in the middle of the match? That almost happened to me. At some point in the match, the underside of the pants tore open and was slowly starting to creep up the back of the pants. It was hard to tell there, and if I was standing up, you couldn't really notice it. But, yeah, I very narrowly avoided, the disaster of a wardrobe malfunction in that match. So that is going to bring us to 2014. Thing about this year is, usually we did the convention, in the Cincinnati area. First year it happened in Dayton. This year, it was happening in, I believe, the Covington Convention Center in Covington, Kentucky. It's just across the Ohio River, but still technically not in Ohio. So they dropped the Ohio portion of the convention's name and just called it A&G. Wait, I never said what the name of the convention was until now, did I? Oops. This is going to be another example of the camera being set up in a corner because we couldn't find anybody to run the camera, or people just didn't want to run the camera. It wasn't a problem the last time, but it's more of a problem this time. Also, I should note before we get started, remember how I said I was really exhausted after that one day? Well, beyond this point, they decided to start running half of the show on one day and half of it on the following day, so that something like this doesn't happen again. They initially didn't do that because the ring belonged to somebody else, so they could only have it for one day and then had to move it out almost immediately so that they could use that space for other events. But this year they started just incorporating the ring more, just renting it from people who supplied rings instead of actual promotions that would need to pack it up and move it out. This is really the perfect matchup because Chef is one of the most loved wrestlers, and I, as Bandit Keith, was one of the most hated wrestlers. I remember this match being really sloppy, but it was also really fun, because the guy who plays Chef was really good at just thinking on the fly. Also note, I forgot to take my staff badge off before coming to the ring. Another thing, my hair is actually blonde here. I usually didn't dye my hair, but this time I happened to be playing two characters. Both had blonde hair, so I just said fuck it and went for it. That's also why in a couple of my videos I just randomly had blonde hair. I was doing it for this. Unstoppable force versus immovable object. I stole this spot from, I think it was a Colt Cabana match. I'm bribing him for him to take one shoulder tackle. Oh, here I'm distracting the referee with expensive Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So I can punch Chef in the dick. I wasn't expecting him to do this, so I just decided to make the best of it. Oh right, he lost his shoe. I completely forgot about that. Always double knot your shoes before doing a match. Here I'm telling him that one of the fans was trying to get into the ring. And then I take off one of my wristbands and wrap it around my fist and knock him out with it, because it's supposed to be made of metal. I'm just doing everything I can think of to cheat and try to get this win, because Bandit Keith is such a douche. Can you tell I like doing the crossbody but get caught spot? Because it's happened 2 years in a row. That one guy in the crowd going, rip his head off! He's taking this chance to put his shoe back on. That'll be the equalizer. That's how he turns things around, is getting his shoes back on. At least he didn't lose his pants. No one loses their pants in this match. Let me pause for a moment, and now. So, I'm telling him, or trying to tell him that I'm going to go for the body slam, but because he's so much bigger than me, I'm thinking of telling him, like, don't actually go up for it. So, I'm doing this, but I am not expecting him to actually, like, feed up for the body slam. So, and play. Yeah. Looked terrible. I should have communicated that better to him. I'll take the blame for that one. Oh, here we go. I grabbed the rope for one just to make sure I would stay up on his shoulders. You know, aside from me losing the Smash Brothers Brawl at the first convention I wrestled for, I think that was the first time I ever lost. It's okay, I'll get mine eventually. So you saw me roll out of the ring there. After the camera cuts out, I was still on the ground selling how beat up I was, and I was crawling to the back while just shit-talking Chef. And there were these curtains that were sectioning off the backstage area. I crawled underneath one of the curtains, and apparently someone thought that I was legitimately injured. They were like, "Oh my god, man, are you okay?" And I just stood up and said, yeah, I'm fine. Why do you ask? So I said that was my first match, because that was on day 1. And then the second day I had another match. And this match was just a result of pulling something completely out of my ass. They had a spot left in the show when they were planning this all out months ahead. And they just asked for match ideas. And I just pulled out the 2 random video game characters that came to mind. One was Tiger Jackson from the Tekken games, and the other was Kanji Tatsumi from Persona 4. So, one person actually agreed to be Tiger, so I kind of just said, well, fuck it, I guess I'll be Kanji. And I think that the head of the convention didn't really know who either character was, but the picture I showed him of Kanji had him wielding a folding chair, which... Actually, one second. This is the chair that I had with me for the show. I brought this to the ring, and it was supposed to be incorporated into a spot, but, well, you'll see what'll happen. I should also note that the guy I was working with actually typed up a full script of, like, every single move that happened in the match. Fortunately, he said that it was just, like, a rough guide for, like, getting ideas, determining, like, the pace of the match, like, who gets momentum when. And I'm glad for that, because he wrote down that I was doing moves that I would absolutely never do. Like, I remember that the finish that I was supposed to hit him with was a vertebraker, which looks like this. Yeah, not doing that. I may be a little insane to have done this at all, but I know my limits. Yep, you can see the folding chair right there. I tried to put it in, like, an easy-to-see spot, so that when he went for it later, he would easily find it. Now, that was actually supposed to be, like, a sliding D to the back, but he went all the way down, so I had to, like, turn it into a shotgun elbow drop of sorts. This is one of those rare matches where I'm fighting someone who isn't, like, significantly heavier, stronger, or taller than me. Now, what I'm going for here is, like, the Kojima chops, but I wasn't expecting him to go down, so I'm pretty sure I, like, chopped him in the jaw at one point. One thing is that my hearing's, like, a little bad at this point. So, he's trying to communicate to me, but I can't hear what exactly he's saying. He's trying to tell me to move away from the ropes, because he's trying to set up for, like, the handstand and then, like, twist around into a leg drop. The guy I'm wrestling right now, like... Oh my god, I forgot about that. So, he was not supposed to stop moving. So I swing for the lariats, and he just falls down. Not even close to making contact. That's why you saw me go like, wait, what? What's going? The guy I'm wrestling is like, he was legendary for how fearless he was trying to do like all sorts of different moves. Oh god. Okay, that spear looked better than I remember it being. And it's mostly because of him, not because of me. He was supposed to feed up for a flapjack there? So that he would like hit the top rope. But instead of that, our timing was way off. So we just kind of like fell all cattywampus into the turnbuckles. Oh my. So I told him I was going for the sling blade, but he was like turned around, which you're not supposed to do. So I don't know how the fuck we both ended up on the mat. This is the point where he's supposed to go out of the ring and find my chair and start trying to use it against me. And he saw me before the match, put it right there. But he's on the other side of the ring. See, it's right there. Now he's supposed to go for a top rope move. And I just have to pretend like I have no idea where he is, or could be. I honestly didn't know what move he was going to do. I just knew that I was going to get hit. And note that the referee has not gotten rid of the chair yet, because he knows that's part of the finish. He jumped too far to land on the chair, so he had to like jump backwards to land on it again. But we're at least in position for the finish, so... I kind of landed, like, with my tailbone on the edge of the chair. So that was not a fun ride for either of us. Now, outside of that, I did have to do a costume change and referee another match that was happening... I can't remember if it was that same day. This might have been the day we ran, this might have been the time we ran 3 separate days. Actually, yeah, it was. Because... like, the third day, because I wasn't wrestling in any matches, I just wound up refereeing a couple of them. And that goes to 2015, which is notable for a couple good reasons and a not-so-good reason. Alright, this is the year that they had the 6-sided ring. I think we did that because the head of the convention was a fan of TNA and they had the 6-sided ring. But we never did it again after this year because it was such a pain in the ass to set up.
For the #1 contendership of the A&G heavyweight title in America.
It's easy to be Bandit Keith, just be an asshole and say in America a lot. So this actually is a #1 contenders match. And then the next day the winner would face the champion, which at this point was Chef. So for those of you who don't know how the Crow's abilities work, because I needed it explained to me before the match, he is sort of invulnerable. And unless something happens to the Crow that he's with. So just keep that in mind as this match goes on.
American. Jumping the Crow from behind.
So I'm laying shots into him, he is just no-selling everything. Oh, I think this is the match where I was spending most of the time trying to make sure that that USA flag bandana would stay on my head. Even though to this point, it has never stayed on my head. Not once when I wrestled this Bandit Keith. Oh, I forgot that there was a ref bump. Although, the referee just got up immediately, so it wasn't much of one. It was just long enough to do the nut shot. I barely got that figure 4 on, and it took a long time. And because he's invincible, he just, like, sits up and punches me in the face. The referee wasn't sure what to do. Like, he was counting a pinfall as I was in a submission. I'm basically just playing dead at this point, just letting him do whatever the hell he wants. Now here, I'm waiting for him to charge, but he tells me to move forward. And now watch this. He speared me so hard the bandana flew off my head. That was not planned, but it made for such great B-roll. Pro actually does, like, say at one point, I can't remember the exact phrasing of it, but it was basically, I'm running out of moves. Like, he'd spent so much time kicking my ass that he was running out of things he could do to me. I forgot about the flare flop. Oh, I forgot that he put me in a sharpshooter. Again, the referee's counting a pin. The like one or two people in the crowd who were actually cheering for Bandit Keith. I think that was the point where he's like, I'm running out of shit. I've hit you with like almost everything I have. What? So this is where I just go straight for the finish. So are you ready for really dumb shit? Because this is some really dumb shit. So by beating up the bird, you end up harming the crow. And now this is the dumbest thing I've ever done. At least in a wrestling ring. Have you seen a top rope brain buster done to a bird? Well, you have now. Now, we didn't plan this part, but Ace Ventura wrestled in a previous match, and he was still in costume. So he starts doing CPR on the bird. And I just say fuck this and go for the pin. So that is how I became the #1 contender for the heavyweight title. This was another event that got split into 3 different days of wrestling. So the second day we had the title match. It was the main event. I decided that I didn't want to wrestle as Bandit Keith again, because like even though he was popular as a villain character, I didn't want to keep doing the same thing over and over and over. So I came up with this story that Bandit Keith wasn't medically cleared because he got like so beat up by the Crow, and I wound up wrestling as Richter Belmont as like a stand-in. And the thing is, the story is supposed to be that he would... You know what? I'll explain that later. Because a lot of this match is going to look very new to me.
Heavyweight champion of the world.
Announcer's losing his voice again. So, there are supposed to be a bunch of momentum shifts in this match, but we'll see what actually happens. So, let me pause for a moment. Now. So you might have noticed that as I landed from that, I kind of like reached up and rolled over to my side. So, when he did that body slam to me, as I hit the ground, I heard a sound in my head that the only way I can describe it is like hearing a bass drum from inside the drum. And I rolled over, grabbed my head, and you can tell he was just going to go for like an elbow drop or something, but I wasn't in position. I realized what I was doing and I went back into position, and now this is going to happen. 3, 2, 1, play.
Well, you know, that's the type of champion I am. I'm always willing to help out people in their times of need.
And pause. So the moment he landed that elbow drop, I said rest hold so loud that you could probably hear it in the hotel attached to the convention center this was taking place in. I remember telling him I hit my head, and then I don't remember anything that happened in the rest of the match. I remember he told me something, but from this point until me being backstage getting checked out by the medical staff, I do not remember any of this. At the same time, though, the match basically just started. And credit where it's due to him, he basically stopped doing a bunch of stuff that would go, like, toward the head or relatively close to the head. It looks like I was just trying to break the hold.
We apologize for the
threw the bandana down. I don't know if that was frustration or just trying to get like pressure off of my head. Oh wow. So I do remember us going over that spot. Apparently I still did that. You know, I actually edited the video for this, but truth be told, I usually, like, go through and watch the video the whole way through. This one, I just, like, cut the beginning and the end, and then just never watched it. Just uploaded it and left it as it was. This is my first time actually going back and watching the entire thing. I think we're going for the... It's a Samoan spike, but we said that it was like the stake to the heart, because Belmont. You can tell that he's just punching himself in the hand at this point.
Chef has got a lot of chutzpah, which Barrett tells me is very good.
There's the crossbody catch again.
Who's spent his whole life slaying vampires.
It looks like my glove is falling apart. One of the straps is just, like, dangling completely loose.
From what I've heard.
Oh my god, is that?
That's a unique...
That's the red ink!
They're just part of the tricks, right?
I remember practicing that. I didn't realize I actually had the wherewithal to do that in the middle of the match.
What a dreadful... Not a comeback.
Still getting the sleeper hold even though he's carrying me. Man, these ropes are really loose. We probably should have tightened them before... Like, tightened them like halfway through the show at least. I don't know if I said anything to him. I think he was just basically guiding the entire match at this point. I did a 619? You do not want to do a 619 when the ropes are really loose.
Let's take him out.
Looks like he's about to serve him up a heap and help in a pain. Oh, a nice hot shot by Richter Belmont. Is that the vampire killer?
2. I don't believe it. Ladies and gentlemen,
So that was how I wound up winning, was with the Samoan spike to the heart. So after that match, I was supposed to deliver a promo saying, basically, Keith, you're not getting this title, I'm holding on to it. And apparently I did speak into the microphone. I don't remember what I said, but it didn't make a whole lot of sense. I remember just being backstage with the guy I had the match with. He was extremely apologetic. Even though, like, 999 times out of 1,000, he does that move and all the other moves perfectly fine. It just happened to be this one time that things didn't go completely according to plan. And the funny part is, I had to run a panel like an hour and a half after that wrestling match happened. I think that was when I had a Crappypasta panel, and then Mr. Creepypasta's panel was directly after that. For the record, I did wind up being okay. Narrowly avoided disaster. I'm recording this again after the fact, because looking back at this, I realized I glossed over a lot of the aftermath. You don't really need to be a doctor to realize I got concussed. I was supposed to compete in a match the following day. I can't remember if it was for the title or not, but what we wound up doing was, since they weren't going to let me wrestle, I wound up just coming out as the champion and doing commentary on a #1 contenders match. And then I just jumped the winner by using Tetsuo's abilities to chokeslam them. Making matters worse, the convention usually happened around the time that I was doing my finals for college. When I got back, I had to meet with all of the professors that I was taking classes with at the time, and share my doctor's diagnosis with them. In a couple of cases, it didn't matter because the final was either a group project or something that I was otherwise working on leading up to the final date. But for a couple of them, it wound up being kind of problematic. I guess what I'm saying is, concussions don't fuck around, so don't fuck around with concussions. 2016, and this was originally going to be the final year of the convention, but they wound up running it for another year. This was happening at, I can't even remember what hotel this happened at. It was somewhere near Cincinnati, I'm pretty sure of that. So we're back in Ohio at this point. I'm only refereeing in this match, but there's such... You know what, let's just pull up the video and I'll explain on the way. So these guys are all really experienced, except for the guy who is wrestling as Luigi. The entire gimmick of me being a re-dead who is refereeing this match is just that I am going to be very slow doing everything. And apparently my shoe is untied. I just noticed. And for the record, the wrestlers knew that this is what I was going to do, so they aren't taking this match, like, too seriously. So, here's the thing about wrestling. You gotta be willing to give, and you gotta be willing to take. The guy who was playing Luigi had some big ideas, but they were all just for things he could do, and a lot of them didn't look particularly good. What is he even doing? If I were Mega Man, I would just demand that he tag out immediately. By the way, I still have the re-dead suit and mask with me. The mask is basically just a decoration piece in my room now. So at this point, Luigi has left ringside and is just at the commentary table trying to cheer on Mario. Wait, there he is. Oh, we got a pinfall. 1, 2... No. I can only imagine what was going through his head when he saw this guy getting tagged in again. For the record, I know I'm in the ring, but I didn't realize it looked that bad. Because I still had the bodysuit on, like the eyes weren't cut out or anything, so I'm kind of seeing everything through this like fabric film. Mega Man's trying for a hold, it's just not happening. I don't know if the guy wrestling as Luigi actually told them anything that he was going to do. It doesn't look like it because of how awkward some of this looks. And now the big finish. He brought a star to the ring. And I bet you didn't know this happens if you give a re-dead a star. And wouldn't be a re-dead if I didn't do this. Now there's another reason I showed you that, is you probably noticed that nobody was running the camera again. That was, again, shot on a different day. For another day, I couldn't put the camera there, so I had to like move it to a side view. And something happened with all of the lighting and like people walking directly in front of the camera that just utterly destroyed the focus and turned the title match into a complete blurry mess. So what I wound up doing was, there was a ringside photographer this year. So I tried incorporating a bunch of the photos that were taken, along with like overlaid footage that I shot, because it was too blurry to just show by itself. But if you like have the image with the footage, you can kind of piece together what happens. If anything, this was better than just not having anything at all for the most important match. I should also note that I tried to like keep continuity with like Bandit Keith was technically supposed to win the title, but somebody else won it, and now Tetsuo has it. So I did a promo before the match, basically stating that Tetsuo murdered Bandit Keith, and that he was never coming back. I also said that because I was just getting sick of playing that character. So as you might expect, the match actually just started with me and Kaneda yelling at each other. That happened a lot in the match. There's one thing I'm like a little sad didn't get photographed, which is I had Black Dynamite in the Muda lock, pictured here. This match, like if I remember the runtime correctly, this went, I want to say at least 15 minutes, and we were just beating the hell out of each other. Oh man. When he did that dive, the commentator thought that he legit got injured, but he turned out to be fine. Oh, there's the double telekinetic choke slam. One of my favorite spots in the whole match. Oh, there's the Asai DDT. He loved doing that move. So technically I was the champion going into this match, and for whatever reason they decided that I should win this match. We teased like a match versus Kano although that ended up not happening. So, weird little bit of trivia, that wound up being the first time that someone successfully defended the title. And the only time. I don't know why they decided I should do that. I thought there were other much better people than me to do that. And that brings us to the final year, which was kind of bittersweet, but at the same time, it felt like there were a bunch of people that just needed to move on to other things. Particularly the people who were running the convention, because they had a kid they were trying to raise. So the story here was, we didn't want to do another Tetsuo match, because he'd already had his match and he'd already appeared a couple of times. But at the same time, I didn't want to go completely back to something we'd already done before. Like I said, I killed off Bandit Keith. But then a weird idea came up. The resurrected and part machine Mecha Keith. If it's going to be the last year, you might as well do something completely ridiculous. So that's just me with a robot suit. I cut holes in the shirt so you can see like the metal parts underneath. I have like circuitry painted on my face. I was going to have like an eyepiece that I would put over my face, but I couldn't find anything that would just break immediately. So it makes sense that he comes out to American made, because most of him is made in America. Manufactured in America, I should say. So the basic premise of this match is going to be that Skate is going to try and just do whatever he can to take me down. But because I'm mostly machined now, most of it's not going to work. I'm going to pause right now. He told me that he wanted me to give him a big boot. Funny thing about the boots that I was wearing for Bandit Keith, those are not wrestling boots. Those are like legit steel-toed boots. Which is precisely why I like almost never use them to like kick people in my matches. But he insisted. So you can see he was making sure he got like some protection up. I was not going to hit him in the face. I'm not great at wrestling, but I know better than that. Oh, another thing I should note for this. We were originally planning to do more, but just being so patronizing. So at the time, I had gone through a job change. I was still at college, but I used to work like an IT job, but then I got phased out and I wound up working in basically a warehouse job. So I was actually going into this with a bad back. And there were like some moves that I was going to do, some moves that Skate was going to do. And we wound up having to nix some of it, just because like I wasn't going to be able to like lift and hold him up. Teasing the ball stomp. Does it make you a heel if you tease the ball stomp but you don't actually do it? I didn't know that he was going to like go for a dick shot. I just kind of instinctively like put my hands down and crouched back because I'm glad that he didn't connect. That's all I'm gonna say. Oh, have I mentioned this guy is stronger than he looks? I actually have the size and weight advantage on him, but he's got me up. I mean, granted, we did stumble a lot to use the ropes to get up, but he managed to do that. And that knee could have been a lot better than it actually looked. Oh, now, here is where things change up a bit. He starts going for the glasses, and the whole thing about this character is that's the source of his power. So he realizes it. And that's going to be a thing for the rest of the match, is him trying to get those off of me. I'm expecting him to do a crossbody, and we talked before this, and he said he'd do a crossbody. But I guess he was really feeling it in the moment, so instead, he winds up doing this.
What is he doing? Skate? No!
See, I was expecting the crossbody, so I was ready to get my arms like this. But then he does the forward somersault, and I'm like,
Holy skate! Holy skate!
My main concern was just making sure that, like, I and the crash mats broke his fall. He says I accomplished that. I think I could have done better. Oh, we're doing the Iron Claw? Yeah, we're doing the Iron Claw. Oh, here's going for the sleeper. But he's actually ripping off the glasses. My glasses. Oh, so this wasn't supposed to be the finish of the match? You can tell that he wasn't expecting the pinfall. But my back was just so sore trying to take that move that I wound up not being able to do the finish. It was supposed to be like a Shiranui out of the corner, and then that would be it. And my plan for this was, because I killed off Bandit Keith once before in a promo, I was planning to just actually stay dead in the ring, and then everybody would leave. Slight problem with that. Matthew was on commentary. Here I'm telling the referee, I'm dead, just like, take the bandana and put it over my face or something.
So what do we do now? Let's start by the keep and do something.
And I should note that I can hear everything Matthew and the rest of the commentary team is saying. And nobody's leaving! Then it becomes just a game of, how do you revive Mecha Keith? Do you... Putting the glasses on, does that help? No, it doesn't. I should note at this point, none of this was planned. I was just supposed to be dead in the ring and then everybody would file out, but then the commentary team just kept going with it. And the crowd got really into seeing, like, is he just gonna stay dead or is something going to happen?
Turn right isn't here! Wow, we can make a keep, he's still not moving! The show's over. No one wants to go. They want to see what Mega Keith's gonna do, if anything. We should put paper coats on him like Buckaroo. He's at the wall. Go to Denny's.
Nope. Not happening. In my head I'm thinking, just leave. Sign off, we're done.
10 minutes. Nothing? Alright.
Just start playing taps, it's over. Oh my god, I forgot he actually did it. So here he's telling me I have to get out of the ring and we'll end the show because they need to set up for the next event that's happening in this room. I don't know why they put the title belts on me. But I realized I had that, and the American flag bandana was still in my lap. So I just kind of roll with it at this point and turn it into, what do I really want more? Do I want the championship? Or do I love America? And at the end of the day, Bandit Keith decides he loves America more.
He may be made of Chinese bits, made by foreign laborers, but he's still American at heart.
So that wasn't supposed to be the end of this. But when I got backstage, after like walking through the curtain, I just laid on the ground and stayed there for I don't even know how long. People would keep walking by and saying like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'm just, yeah, just give me a moment, I'll be fine. This was the year that they had Joey Ryan and Matt Cross, two legit pro wrestlers there. And at one point, Matt Cross was like one of the people going, "Are you sure you're okay?" And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Turned out the next day I wasn't so fine. I mean, I'm no medical expert, but I'm pretty sure that like half an hour after you wake up, you're supposed to have feeling in your right arm. So I wound up not wrestling the second day, which sucked for a couple of reasons. Number one, it was a character that I was just given like free reign to pick whoever, and I was going to wrestle as Soul Bad Guy from Guilty Gear. But even beyond that, it was supposed to be me partnered with Joey Ryan. And I know someone's going to call bullshit on that, so here's a screenshot from the group that we used to organize all of this. It was supposed to be me and Joey Ryan versus Valor Club versus Matt. It was going to be Matt Cross and I can't remember if it was Skate or the head of the convention, who was Ace Ventura. But like, I got hurt. One of the guys in Valor Club got hurt, and like a month before the convention, Matt Cross broke his leg. And it was kind of a funny story because he didn't realize he broke his leg until a doctor told him that his leg was broken. So, major missed opportunity, but really, I don't have any regrets. If I wrestled in the Soul Bad Guy outfit, that thing does not breathe at all. I would have been sweating just after doing the entrance. And now you know the whole story about my weird excursion with wrestling and cosplay and a convention and